What's up, guys? Welcome back to Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho. Thank you so much for watching. And guys, today we are talking about the Las Vegas Raiders, and we are going to be breaking down the first 3 rounds of the draft. So the players they got in the first 3 rounds, 4 players for the Raiders this year. We'll break those guys down. We're going to do my best and worst move, and then draft grades at the end. Before we get to all that, let's talk about their draft as a whole. Let's take a look at their draft here. Went corner and safety heavy, DB heavy. After taking a tackle early, they got an edge rusher / maybe outside linebacker, I'm not sure, and Malcolm Koontz. You go safety, corner to basically finish out the draft, and then you get a center late. I mean, wow, they did not like where they were at in that safety / corner position. And I get it, man. I mean, Jonathan Abrams, who I loved coming out of Ole Miss. I loved him coming out. He gets that injury really early on, misses the first season of his career, literally broke everything, and one of his first tackles of the game in the first game. But I don't know, he was out of coverage a lot. He looked lost. I remember watching very early on, I think it was Raiders versus Carolina, first or second week of the season, and we just you watching all the throws. And my 2 big takeaways was Teddy Bridgewater is not able to push the ball down the field, and this Jonathan Abrams dude is out of position, or just struggling for whatever reason. And I think both of those major takeaways that we had all the way back in the second week of the season is coming to fruition a little bit, with the Raiders basically saying, hey, Jonathan Abrams, your job is not safe, man. Your job is not safe at all. Look at 3 safeties in the first 4 rounds. 3 safeties. Crazy. And granted, I'm going to talk about 2 of those guys. One of them might end up going to be a big linebacker. I'm not sure. But hey, let's get right into it. That's kind of like my overall takeaway. Let's get into their first pick, Alex Leatherwood here, the first round pick out of Alabama. And everyone hated this pick. I'll put up the graphic now. Athletic, great frame. Can be a guard if it doesn't work out at tackle, but at the end of the day, probably going to have to be a tackle, right? A little very inconsistent, to be totally honest, and just okay pad level. This is a guy that I think everyone had as a late first, early second, top 50, I think guy was still in the conversation, but he was a guy that I don't think anybody thought was going to go top 20, to go 17 overall, was definitely a surprise. Certainly a surprise, and I get that. I didn't have as big of a problem with it as I think the media and the rest of the world did. If Alex Leatherwood comes out last year, he's a top 15 pick. He had a bad season this past year. A lot of people did. Alabama, they ran the gauntlet, and Alex Leatherwood certainly struggled. But man, honestly, so did Asante Samuel. He went 9 overall, and nobody's talking about Asante Samuel's struggles. I can put on a lot of film and say, hey, he struggled here, he struggled here. Yeah, Asante Samuel's awesome, and he's a great player. I like him too. But he had moments of struggle. This is an all SEC schedule. Alabama's not getting enough credit. The players that are coming out, I guess, are not getting enough credit for facing all SEC and at Alabama, running the gauntlet, running through everybody. There's a team as a whole, and some of these guys struggled. I get it. Alex Leatherwood wasn't expected to be a top 20 pick, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be an offensive lineman expert. I'm not. I feel like I have grown a lot in the past year as far as scouting offensive linemen, and I hope to do more of that over the next year or 2. But I'm not a finished product when it comes to scouting offensive linemen. So to me, this is a dude who was damn near dominant in the 2019 season, and I think that's kind of the guy that the Raiders think they're getting. They think they're getting a plug and play dude, and if he is plug and play, it's a fine pick at 17. If he's plug and play, you got to find pick. The fact that he was the 4th offensive lineman off the board, certainly surprising. Certainly surprising. But Darisaw went a couple picks later to the Vikings in the 20s. If the roles were reversed and the Vikings get Alex Leatherwood and the Raiders get Darisaw, is everybody happy now? I don't know. I just feel like I'm as big of a draft value guy as anybody, but I feel like we're splitting hairs here for the biggest thing I guess I would say is they drafted for need over value. And that's 1,000% fair, but a lot of teams do that all the time. So to yell at the Raiders specifically for doing that right now, I just don't think that's fair. And granted, I think part of this is okay, they've reached a lot harder on other players in past years than they are with an Alex Leatherwood. To me, in my opinion, that's just my take. I know I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but let's move on. Their second round pick, Trayvon Morag. They actually traded up to land this dude. They get Trayvon Morag in the second round, and everybody loved this pick. Safety out of TCU, who everyone thought had a chance to go first round. He was like the consensus top safety on the board, and I don't get it with Trayvon Morag. I like him. I do. I certainly saw him as like a second, third round player. I think this was exactly where he deserved to go. But I did not get, like, why was everybody on his dick as far as like Trayvon Morag is the best safety in the class and there's nobody else out there. He was top 3. He was really good. I didn't see him as like, it wasn't slam dunk, open and shut case. And I certainly didn't think he was a first round safety by any means. But let's get to the breakdown here. Physical hitter, has that size speed combo that you really like. He has the ball skills, and I think that's something that like people over analyze, I guess. Like, the ball skills are really, really important for safety. I'm not taking that away any means, and Trayvon Morag certainly has it. I think it was overstated a little bit, maybe one of the bigger reasons he was talked about in the first round. I do think he's best served outside the box. I didn't see him as like a big tackler, and that was like my big thing is like, okay, he's a good safety, but he's a free safety. He's not a guy that I want, inside, and that's okay. That's totally okay, because what the Raiders did is they got a guy that can play in the box a lot more. So they covered all their bases there, and they know exactly how they want to use him. But to me, you're talking about a guy who's somewhat limited. Like, I don't want him playing downhill. I don't want him playing the run. I don't think he's that type of guy. He is your coverage safety on the back end and nickel concepts, right? And he'll be really good at that. But to say he was a first round pick because he had really good ball skills and was really good at coverage, that's great. But that's not the only thing a safety needs to do. And if it is, he's not a first round safety. I mean, that's just kind of how I differentiate. That's why I didn't see him as a first round safety. I thought this was fine value. The trade up to go get him. And I'm going to throw the trade up just now. They moved up 5 spots, didn't give up a whole lot, pretty much gave up a 4th round. And listen, I get the value. I think that's appropriate value. You have to give up a 4th round pick, get something in return to move up in the 2nd round. Maybe a little bit more than I would have wanted to spend, but at the end of the day, if they felt like there was a teardrop, they felt like they needed to go get their guy. They certainly came into this draft knowing they wanted to fix the safety position and fix the back end of that defense. So if that was their thought process, I don't have a problem with it. Not the end of the world for me. And by the way, there certainly was a teardrop as far as the NFL was concerned. They moved up to the 11th pick in the 2nd round. There wasn't another safety to go off the board in the 2nd round, and the next one came off the 1st pick of the 3rd round. So that kind of tells you, like, okay, yeah, they felt there was a teardrop. They felt there was a team they had to jump to go get him, and the NFL agreed as far as the way the draft board played out that there was a teardrop as far as safeties was concerned. So that just adds another element to the trade and makes me think, yeah, okay, that's fine. Good trade. No worries there. But moving on to their next pick, their 3rd round pick here, with edge rusher Malcolm Koontz out of Buffalo, and this is a guy who I think can play, stand up or with a hand in the dirt. Although, after kind of doing a little bit more research as far as preparing for this video, it sounds like everyone's expecting him to be like that edge rusher. To they let go of an Arden Key, who LSU 2nd, 3rd round guy a couple of years ago, who had some off the field issues and things like that. Just never really hit for the Raiders. So I guess they're thinking, maybe he'll replace that. This is a guy who has a ton of potential, man. Length, long arms, has explosiveness, very quick, twitchy athlete, has strength at the point of attack. I would say average bend. I don't think he turns the corner the way I would like him to. I watched 2 games of him last night while I was kind of preparing for this video, and I kind of came away thinking, okay, I don't see special bend. I think that's part of the reason he fell to the 3rd round, and I think this is a guy you're hoping to develop. But hey, they got a lot of production out of like a Max Crosby, who I think they felt the same way about, like, oh, we're helping develop. So we've seen Mike Mayock hit on this type of guy in mid-round, so hopefully they can do that again with a Koontz. They definitely need help on that defensive line. Cleveland Farrell, I thought played a lot better this year, but certainly not living up to that 4th pick in the draft type of value that I think he had on him, or that obviously the Raiders saw him in. But I think they need help on the defense pretty much everywhere. They obviously are attacking safety, as we're going to get to. That we're going to talk about another safety they got in the 3rd, and then they drafted another one in the 4th too. So this is the only like big name lineman that they grabbed, or outside lineman if they do want to stand him up, which it doesn't sound like they're going to. Either way, this is a good pick. I think this is a guy who I think went exactly where he was supposed to for the most part. Some people are going to say there was a little bit of a reach. I didn't think so. I really didn't. I thought this was a good value for a guy who is a little bit of a raw prospect, but is like that size, weight, speed, length type of prospect that you look for in those day 2 type of picks. And then with their last pick in the 3rd round, they grab a guy by the name of Divine Diablo. And that is, what a name. What a name. Safety out of Virginia Tech. And this dude's big, man. He's 6'3", 236 pounds. This is a guy who, like I said, great size, good length. I mean, he's a hitter. He is an enforcer at Virginia Tech. He certainly was. Great tackler. I'm going to get to one of the pro. I know it says Travis Kelce Antonote. I want to get to that in a second. Before I do, listen, the biggest issue is he is stiff. Change of direction skills. It was very much like, okay, stop, turn, start, right? Like that was, it wasn't smooth by any means. I think that was the biggest issue. You're going to get that with some of these bigger guys, but man, I like him a lot. I'm not gonna lie, watching the film, just like the type of guy that I fall in love with as far as just like an analyst, I like him more than Morag. I know Morag was the higher touted prospect, and Morag will be really good at what he can do, and Divine Diablo will be very good at what he can do. We're talking about like two very different guys, although they play the same position. Morag could not play in the box and be the enforcer that Diablo is going to be, and vice versa. Diablo doesn't really have the range or the change of direction skills that I think a Trayvon Morag does to really play center field and be sideline to sideline the way I think they're expecting a Morag to be, and the way I certainly believe he will be. So you saw what I said, Travis Kelce Antidote for pro. I do believe this is a big safety slash, maybe they're going to move him to linebacker. I saw a couple of different people say, okay, maybe he's a big linebacker, not like a true safety, but I do think he'll be doing a lot of different things. I think he's a guy who can match up really well with a Travis Kelce. He's fast. He's not slow. Just because he's stiff and has poor change of direction, his straight line speed isn't bad at all. He can move, and I think he can probably move with a Travis Kelce. Definitely has the size and length to keep up with him physically. So I don't know. I just like, to me, I just going through everything that there is about him, like as I was kind of writing up my report on him and creating this graphic that I show you. I'm gonna put it up again just because it's a nice looking graphic, I think. I kept coming away with the fact that like, oh, this guy could match up against a Travis Kelce. Obviously, the Chiefs in their division, that just makes a lot of sense to me. Like the Raiders have built their entire roster as a Chiefs, antidote, right? Like we want to be able to beat the Chiefs. They did it this past year too. Like they had no business beating the Chiefs, as far as like I would say, but they do, and they put up a damn good fight against the Chiefs. That's a team that they kind of have their number, and I expect that to kind of be a story in the same way that like the Patriots have been good for 20 years, or were good for like 20 years in the Tom Brady era, but the Dolphins always gave them a pain in the ass. Like the Dolphins, for whatever reason, always gave them a good fight. Part of that is Miami and that aspect of it, but hey, you can say the same thing about Las Vegas, man. So I don't know. I think that might have been in the back of their heads when they took a Diablo here. Let's move on to my best and worst move for the Las Vegas Raiders, and my best move is attacking a position that they saw a need in, right? And this is something that I've always liked. I like a team to recognize a flaw in their team, recognize that, okay, they may have gotten a stopgap in free agency or something along those lines, but they feel they have a serious need that is hindering their team, and saying, we're going to fix that need. Pick. One of these guys is going to hit, right? Hopefully more of them, one will hit. You see it consistently. I feel like it's the quickest way to make a weakness on your team a strength, right? Getting a bunch of young guys in that can all play, and hopefully, you hit on a couple, right? So that's what they did with the safety position, right? They grabbed Trayvon Morag. They grab a Divine Diablo. They grab a Tyree Gibson. Three safeties in the first 4 rounds. Crazy. You never see that. And I guess it makes sense, right? Okay, so you have a Carl Joseph who was their first round pick, and a while ago, I don't remember. I guess it would have been 2016, because he left for free agency after not getting that 5th year option in last year in the 2020 season, went to the Browns, and then came back this past year, which is always kind of weird to me when stuff like that happens, but whatever. So they have Carl Joseph, who they obviously don't feel that strong about. And then they have they have Jonathan Abrams, who I mentioned earlier. Like, I felt like he really struggled last year. Was a first round pick who at this point, I mean, we can say is kind of a bust, right? I mean, really struggled last year, and the Raiders are telling you they think they missed on it, right? Moving on, draft value. Mike Mayock, he's going to have to start hitting. He has. And I feel like, it's one of those things where he was in the media for so long. I don't feel like I hear like the average, like I don't feel like I hear people on TV or anything like that talking about a Mike Mayock, because I mean, he has friends in media. He does. And that makes a lot of sense why he would get some favorable coverage, or at least, people would like maybe turn a blind eye on some bad moves here and there. But hey, I don't know Mike Mayock. I'm not a part of that trend. So I'm going to say how it is, man. I think he's missed hard. And and he's misevaluated value, and he's been unapologetic about it, and I get that to a certain degree. But man, if you are going to have your chart and have your value, you gotta hit, and at least if you're gonna, I understand, like, hey, again, I said Alex Leatherwood. Alex Leatherwood could have gone late first. Nobody would have batted an eye. The fact that he went top 10, 20, that was the issue, right? I don't even really have a problem with like things like that, but it's compounding on doing that consistently throughout the draft and making weird moves that like everybody who follows the draft is like, that's like a little bit of a head scratcher. What are you thinking there, Mr. Mayock? Like what's going on? You do that too long, too consistently, and I feel like they definitely did it again this year. There's going to be some issues. And the reason it's not an F is because Trayvon Morag, I think, good value. But again, listen, I talked about how I love them attacking safety. Safety, to me, is very similar to, like to me, safety is the running back of the defense as far as, like, drafts go. You don't spend a lot of assets on safety. And if you do, you spend, like, you want to get as many, like, day 3 safeties as you can. You want to get, like, if you're going to get a day 2 safety, you better play, right? Like, that's how I look at the safety position. I really do. Because, I mean, there's athletic guys who can move and tackle and all these things coming out of college every single year. Just like there's athletic running backs who can run and have good ball skills and all these things every single year. It's not a position that is hard to replace. I guess I'll put it that way. Certainly not a position that's hard to replace in the draft. And the NFL shows you that. Look at how much safeties get paid compared to pretty much any other position on the market. Look at the top safety payment versus any other top defensive player. I mean, it's right there in front of you. I mean, that's just how it goes sometimes. And it's not to the level of running back, but I certainly think it's comparable in a lot of ways. So again, that goes back to draft value. Not something that I love there. I get that they went needs over draft value. They went needs over maybe positioning, things like that. I think when they build their board, they put guys higher based on they don't grade it based on apples to apples skill level. They put significant value in on the type of position and what they're trying to get out of the draft, and that's okay. That's a way to look at the draft. That's a way to approach the draft. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it is what it is, and it gets you a good grade when you talk about the draft needs from a small YouTube channel called Between the Pylons. So good job. All right, guys, that's all I got on the Raiders. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you enjoy this kind of content, subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy this video specifically, like it. Let's push it. Let's try and get as many views as we can. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back soon for another video. Peace out, guys.